Hey everybody, how is it going? This is Christopher Brent coming to you today with a podcast on the subject of majoring in music. So, I think this is an important subject for music students who are obviously thinking about getting a music degree. And I just wanted to talk about all of the pros and cons of a music degree and if it's right for you, and what it's like to be a professional musician and all of the situations that you will encounter in your journey to be a musician professionally. So let's get down to it. So should you major in music? So maybe you're a high school student or maybe even a little younger than that and you're thinking about it and you're not sure about a few things, and often people ask the question of the practicality of a music degree and what you can do with it and what you can't do with it and things like that. So I'm going to get into that. So should you major in music? My answer to that is yes, if you feel called to be a musician and to perform and teach and record and all that in between stuff there. Accompany, that's another thing that I do as a pianist. You have to be able to deal with all of the issues that will come your way, and that's not easy, and that's not for everybody. So that's why I say you have to really be sure that this is what you want to do. So in my case, I have a music degree. My degree is in piano performance, and I knew that I wanted to play and perform professionally since I was a little kid. I felt called to do it. I love the piano. I love practicing. I love performing. And I knew it was what I wanted to do. When I was a kid, I heard the Second Hungarian Rhapsody of Franz Liszt, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do. It was really that simple. I had played before that for many years, and obviously I loved it. But once I discovered the music of Franz Liszt, I was completely hooked. I was amazed at how difficult technically all these pieces were by Liszt and Rachmaninoff and Scriabin, I later discovered, and I was fascinated. I was hooked. I read every book I could find on composers, on classical pianists. I was so into it. It was my thing. And I loved it. I felt I had a passion, and it's been with me ever since. Now, not everybody has the same situation or the same journey, but I felt called to do it, and I was ready to take on the ups and downs of life in the arts. I knew I may have to travel, I may have to be on the road. I know that the money situation can go up and down. I heard all those stories about starving artists and everything, and I still didn't care. I was like, I can handle all that. I'm going to do it. I love this. I feel so called to do this. I feel like this is for me, and there was no other avenue. I have a thing for playing golf. I thought for a while, could I be a golf professional? Can I teach the game of golf? And I just decided, no, that wasn't for me at that time. So I stuck with music and studied and had wonderful teachers and ended up getting a music degree in piano performance. And not a day goes by where I don't use something that I learned as a teacher or a performer. So the degree was obviously very valuable to me. And I've earned money as a musician, both in the setting where I was self-employed, contracted, and also employed technically by a university. So I've been in these different situations, and that's what you have to do as a musician. And sometimes when you get a music degree, they teach you all of the things that you need to know to be a good musician, but they may not teach you all of the ins and outs as far as how the industry works. Although a lot of schools are getting a little bit better at that. So in a lot of situations, you're contracted as a musician. Other situations, you're employed as a musician or a teacher. So there's a lot of different situations, and sometimes it can be up and down. You can have a job with an ensemble for many years, go on the road, and then be done with that, and then you're looking for work again. So the financial situation can go up and down for many musicians all across the board. So that's one of the challenges you got to face. You got to be able to live in other countries at times, go on maybe cruise ships for many months at a time. I've known a lot of musicians who've done the cruise ship thing. You have to be able to deal with all these situations, right? There are a lot of jobs actually available for musicians, whether it would be a church musician, whether it would be an orchestral position in a major orchestra. Obviously, that's very competitive, and there's certainly a lot of teaching positions available across the country, and of course, that's a very competitive thing too, and in many cases, you need a lot of credentials to get those jobs. So, the second part of choosing to be a music major, the first part is you have to feel called to do it. You can't be unsure or wavering. You got to be sure that this is what you want to do. So the second part is you have to be proficient on an instrument, and you should be probably more than proficient. You should probably be very good at that instrument, because there's a lot of competition, and let's face it, you want to be a professional and you want to be looked at as someone who is capable and can express musicality in a very, very high way, right, at a high level. So it's like professional athletics, right? You want to go see a football game, you want to see the best athletes in the world, right? You want to go see, the NBA, see a basketball game, you want to see the best athletes in the world, right? So, it's kind of the same way. When you go see the New York Philharmonic, you're looking at, some of the best musicians in the world, right? So that's how it works. You got to be good. There's competition. That's just the way it is, right? So it might be a little different if you're someone who is majoring in something else, and maybe you want to just obviously take a music class, or maybe minor in music or something like that. Obviously, that's not the same situation as someone who's going to look to music as a full-time career. So there's competition, and you have to push yourself and be very, very motivated, and you have to push yourself beyond the level of competition at the school that you're at. So if you go to whatever university and you get your degree, you got to realize that there's people outside of that university that are at least as good, if not better, and you have to really compete with them once you graduate. So that's the other part of the story. So my thing is, if you are unsure or you're wavering and you're kind of, on the line, you might need a little bit more time before you make your decision. My thing is, to be a music major, you got to be absolutely sure that you're being called by God to do this, because getting a music degree is not easy. There's a lot of one-credit classes, and there's ensembles that you have to do, and you have to really balance your time between practice and the music theory, music history, and sight singing classes. I'm thinking of all the things that you have to do. There's so many, and they're all applicable in their own way, even though to many music students it seems like, you might say, why do I have to be in choir if I'm a piano major? That was that was always my thing, but I actually learned a lot and enjoyed being in choir. It was just managing time with practice. That's one of the things that you have to be good at, and you learn that as you go. And you can't really play a sport for the most part and be a music major. Like I wanted to, I didn't really want to so much because I was majoring in music and so into that, but had I wanted to or been in the situation where I was able to get on the golf team at the college, there was no way I could do that and do all of what I need to do as far as practicing to be a musician and be a music major. So the thing is, if you want to be a music major, you got to be able to be proficient. You got to be practicing, I think, at least 3 hours plus a day. If you're a performance major, you're going to be doing it way more than that. For at least a piano major, or most instrumental performance majors can do that. Voice, I know, is different. You can't really probably go beyond an hour or two of practice per day without maybe damaging the voice. Voice is very sensitive, so I know that. But yeah, you got to be practicing a lot, working hard, and you have to have a very strong work ethic, and you have to be willing to listen to your teachers, take advice, and get better and better in your journey. So that's basically my thought on the whole thing. There's always a few more detailed things. So if you have any questions about any of this, I would love to talk. Email me at chrisbrentmusic@gmail.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And visit my website at www.christopherbrent.com. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.